My name is Sylvester Brown Jr. I am a board member of the Peace Economy Project. I'm honored to serve as the moderator for this event. This is our second monthly forum. And we just thought in an election year that it's imperative that we engage the community on issues and subjects of grave importance to our world, to our communities, and to our children. Today's discussion, and I think it's a pretty appropriate day for this, centers around our tax dollars and military spending. It coincides with the Global Day of Action on Military Spending organized by the International Peace Bureau and the Institute for Public Studies. Institute for Policy Studies. Today, people all across the country are joining together to focus public, political, and media attention on the cost of military spending and the need for new priorities. The event coincides with the release of the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute's new annual figures on world military expenditures. You can get the details of that report at www.demilitarize.org, and get that to you again after the conversation.
And then some of the many cuts to the military that I think can and should be made. Let me make several things clear before I start. One, I'm an amateur. These are topics that are very complicated. I don't pretend to have all the answers, but I'm not sure the experts do either. So I think there's a role for amateurs. Two, I don't hate the military. I was a soldier for a couple of years. I recognize there are the good things that the Army does, as well as some terrible things. I was lucky I was never in combat. I'm also not a pacifist. I respect pacifists a lot, but I don't believe in unilateral disarmament. Though I must say Ron Paul, of all the people in the news now, sounds like he kind of appeals to me on the foreign policy and defense policy front. I think there are just wars. I think World War II was probably a just war. We could argue, I think Korea, maybe the first Gulf War, Kosovo, but I'm having a hard time convincing myself that 500 dead and what is it, 25,000 wounded in Iraq and Afghanistan makes any kind of sense.
Military spending is out of control. I think Charlie gave a really sort of a good overview of where things could be cut. And we do spend about 60% of our discretionary spending of our taxes on military spending, which is excessive. But more importantly, one of the things that I think that sometimes gets overlooked, not necessarily on what the military, what we're spending, what our tax dollars are going towards with the military, but the fact that a lot of these defense contractors don't pay taxes also. And since today is tax day, the federal corporate tax bill says that corporations need to pay 35% of their income towards taxes. The average defense contractor spends about 17.5% on taxes, which is well below the federal corporation tax law.
I come from a family of I'm an Air Force guy. I work with nuclear weapons systems on the F-4 aircraft and the F-16 Strike Eagle. I am a pacifist. I am pro-peace, and because I'm pro-peace, I just happen to be anti-war. We have wars, and I wrote something really long. So I just want to, I have 5 points why we go long. I could elaborate, but I'll probably get into this later. The first one is because we can, okay? The most obvious reason that the United States keeps doing these things is the fact that it's a remarkably powerful military, especially when facing a minor power like Libya. When you have hundreds of planes and smart bombs and cruise missiles, the whole world looks like a target set. So when some thorny problem arises somewhere, it's hard to resist the temptation to do something. Yeah, I wrote also.
Creating jobs that give meaning to our communities makes more sense than creating jobs that don't. And so many of the military, industrial, I'll leave out congressional, maybe those are valuable jobs that mean something to the community, but military industrial jobs do not give something back to the community, either in our cities or internationally, that have value and are life-giving. Even just the jobs that are created at Boeing that are making weapons being sold to Saudi Arabia are not life-giving. Saudi Arabia, I mean, we're talking billions of dollars worth of weapons that are going to be created in St. Louis to be sold to Saudi Arabia.
Boeing last year, or for the last 3 years, actually received $178 million of our taxes. So not only are they not paying into our tax system that is purchasing all of the defense contracting, but they're also benefiting, they're profiting, they're getting a lot of money from our tax dollars in terms of to further perpetuate global war and defense contractors. Boeing also spends about $18 million a year on lobbying. So not only are we getting, they are getting a lot of tax breaks in order to continue manufacturing weapons. They're able to use a lot of that money on lobbying.
I hate to say it, sometimes labor is perceived as being a dinosaur because we don't at times keep up with the time, like the post office is closed. You know, we have to start getting more active in some of the decisions that are being made by our legislators and hold them accountable. Because to me, accountability is vital to getting working people out in the streets for issues that can bring down, military spending and injustices.
What's the atmosphere now, Steve? What is St. Louis unions from your perspective? Are there any chance that unions will work with peace and justice groups? Can they actually work together?
I do think so.
I think when we focus on the military industry, we really focus on the wrong thing. This is all politics and politicians. Military industry is there to make money, and what they're doing is the politicians are doing what they think the constituency wants. And all I'm saying is we got to bring it home to the people, the politicians, to make them change the military mind. It's not the people in the military. They're going to do what they're told to do. So when we focus on the military industry, we're leaving the key players out of it. The key players are the politicians. Just recently, they wanted the president to intervene somewhere. I forgot where it was, but the problem is they say where we're at right now. The Republicans are basically. And I don't mean to put this all on Republicans. If you know that we started the Vietnam War, we lost 58,000 people. 58,000, not to mention the ones that were wounded. And that was started on a lie. Our ship wasn't attacked in the Gulf of Tonkin. Didn't happen. That was a Democrat. They were doing what they thought was politically correct. We got to change that mindset.